Hi, my name is Dana, and welcome to the Wrestling Mama podcast. I started this podcast because I have kids who wrestle, and I know that moms play an important role in this sport. I've stumbled across tons of content from coaches and dads, but rarely from a mom. I get it. We're not the ones who are at practice or mat side. We are supporting them from a distance. And I just started to wonder what other wrestling mamas do. How are they involved? I had questions that only other wrestling mamas could answer. So now I'm on a mission to connect with other wrestling mamas who are at various stages of their journey. I want to get some advice from them, gain wisdom, and maybe, just maybe, find some like-minded mamas. So today's interview is with Karissa Bassett, the mother of Bo and Keegan Bassett. I'm hoping you take away some wisdom from this just like I did. I truly am thankful that I had the opportunity to talk with her and connect and enjoy. So thank you so much for doing this. I really, really appreciate it. I'm really excited. So let's just go ahead. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and just tell me about your family?
Okay, my name is Karissa Bassett. We have a family of five. There's myself and my husband. We've been married for 22 years. And then we have three boys. We have our oldest son, Bo. He's a freshman in high school. And our youngest son, Keegan, is a seventh grader. And then we also have our third son, who's our nephew, Melvin Miller, and he's in eighth grade.
Okay.
So
and how long has Melvin been with you?
it'll be actually a year now. He's been with us for a year. So
Okay. Okay. And I think anyone that is listening probably is very familiar with Bo. I
yes.
think so. I mean, he's been around for a few years. If you're in the wrestling community, you know of him.
Yeah, and I think because he's older is why people know a lot more about him. And 2 summers ago, he won the world title in Budapest, and I think that kind of catapulted him into the spotlight. And he has a pretty good social media presence too. So, but Keegan actually has, I think, 5 state titles. I think he'd be going for his sixth.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's won Super 32 more than once. I'm pretty sure 2 or 3 times. Melvin's like a 3-time state champ.
Right.
And he's also won Super 32, I think at least twice. Bo would be going if the PIAA lets us wrestle. Bo was not allowed to wrestle in states this year, his freshman year. Our whole school, McCourt, was on a suspension, but he would be going next year. They're supposed to allow us to, so he would be going for his 9th state title, and
Oh my
he's won
goodness.
Super 32 and Ironman and Powerade, and I think probably the most notable was in 2021 when he won the world title in Budapest. So
Right. How old was he then?
we actually had to sign papers. It was crazy. Like we had to get our physician to sign off on him, like physical papers. And then we had to sign off as parents because he was so young. He was only 14 at the time. And then when we came home, like he won that in July and then his birthday is at the end of August. So then he turned 15, but he was actually like not allowed to be that young unless we signed off that if anything happened,
Oh,
it
wow.
wasn't their fault. So
Right. And what was he wrestling? Was he wrestling 14U? What was his?
it's cadets. So
Oh,
it's
cadets. Okay.
I want to say is it 17 and under, I believe. So he was wrestling
Wow.
older kids. So
Wow.
yes,
What
it
an
was.
accomplishment. That's pretty cool. Did you get to go to that?
I did. It was amazing. It was like who would ever think you'd go to Budapest? But
Right.
our whole family, we got to go and we stayed for 12 days. He did the Greco too, so we stayed for 12 days, and it was an amazing place. It was so
Wow.
neat.
Anything? Did you get to sightsee at all?
We did like a big tour. We went and saw all kind of things there. They have the river. I think it's called the Danube River, and there was like back during the Jewish Holocaust, they actually took like Jewish like families there, and they made monuments of their shoes because it was really sad. They would actually, I guess, like basically shoot them, and then they would fall into the river. So their shoes had been all lined up like along the river, and they made like a monument about it. So we went and saw that museum. They have bridges there. It's a beautiful place. I never thought Budapest would be beautiful, but it is. They have outside cafes and music, and it was an awesome experience.
Very cool. Very cool. So tell me your experience with wrestling. Did you grow up around it?
I did not know. My family wasn't really into sports at all. I had one brother; he played football and stuff, but nothing major at all. I started dating my husband though in high school, and because I wanted to be around him, I decided to be the scorekeeper for the wrestling team. So I
Oh,
would go, on the bus to the away matches and stuff, mostly so I could hang out with him and watch him wrestle. But
okay.
that's how I got into it. And my husband wrestled. He wrestled in high school. My brother-in-law is 4 years younger than my husband. He wrestled too, so my husband coached him. And then we've always been friends with John and Jody Strip Matter. So my husband has always helped coach young guns, like since the beginning. And he's helped coach. John used to coach at Central Cambria, so he helped coach that team. And then with my husband being a teacher, he actually coached at Richland, Greater Johnstown, Forest Hills, and now at Bishop McCourt. So
Okay.
we've always been involved.
Right. So did he wrestle in college at
He
all?
did not. He did not. We say it's so different now. Like when he wrestled, he didn't have the opportunities that our kids have or the coaching. There weren't clubs like Young Guns, like the way there is now. Our kids have so many opportunities.
Right, right. Yeah. And that was something that when we first started wrestling, that we saw that it couldn't, if you were serious, that
Right.
it couldn't become just you're doing it 3 months a year and then done.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
I mean, you have to commit. You have to be all in or not.
Yes, you'll get eaten alive by the kids that do it year round, and
Yeah.
nobody likes to lose. That's not fun. So
Right. No kidding.
yeah.
So you and your husband were high school sweethearts then?
Yes.
Oh, how
Yeah, we met
fun.
the summer of '96. We started dating. So summer
Okay.
before my junior and his senior year of high school.
And have you always lived where you live now in Pennsylvania?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We went
I
to.
was thinking about this earlier, how like where you're at is such like a wrestling hotbed.
Yes, we're very fortunate.
Yes. And like we moved to Wisconsin to be in a wrestling hotbed. Just the opportunities that are offered are just, it's so much better. So tell me how kind of the wrestling club has changed since the boys were little to now.
I think when they were little, there was pretty much just the school program, which, school programs are school programs. It's just during the season. It's not very serious. And then there always was Young Guns, like when my boys were growing up. So we always had that. But now we're at Bishop McCourt, and they're real supportive of the wrestling team. So that helps. Then we opened up a youth strength training facility. My husband runs it in 2016.
Okay.
And that helped a lot. We actually have our own kind of little wrestling club. It's just the kids that go to school with my kids. And it's called Ranger Pride Wrestling. So my husband runs the wrestling club out of there. And then of course we have Young Guns. John and Jody are extremely close to my kids, so we're always going to Young Guns. So it's like we have a lot. We're super lucky with the compound and Young Guns and our own wrestling club, and then our school program is rocking right now. So once they let us wrestle again in the PIAA, we'll get to do some games at the state tournament.
And for those that don't know, why don't you share like what kind of happened with that?
So my husband and I both graduated from Forest Hills, and that's where our kids originally started. And there were just some issues with the program. They weren't as serious as we were. We weren't happy there. We weren't getting what we wanted basically out of the program. And COVID happened. And probably nobody was really ready for COVID as far as the schools, but they definitely were not ready. Like the online learning was not, it was not there. And Bishop McCourt is a Catholic school, basically the same distance from our house as Forest Hills. And they were up and rocking. I mean, they had online learning. Everything they were full go. So we ended up actually transferring Bo, I think it was in the middle of his 7th grade year, to Bishop McCourt. We had Keegan finish up through 6th grade at Forest Hills. And then in that natural break, when he would have went to middle school, we transferred him to Bishop McCourt into his 7th grade year. So, and I think what happened is because, we already kind of had this wrestling family, these kids that have been wrestling with my kids since they were about 6 years old. And when we left Forest Hills and we went to Bishop McCourt, nobody asked them to. We didn't give them anything to come, but they followed us. I mean, it was a humongous influx of kids. There was probably about 20 wrestlers that came within like the month that we went to McCourt as well. So a lot of local other schools, I think, basically didn't like that. Felt like we were building a powerhouse, we were recruiting, which wasn't the case. There's never been any evidence that we were recruiting because there is none. So they kept making complaints to District 6, which is our small district, and to the PIAA. And if other schools make complaints, I guess apparently they have to follow up on it. So they suspended us. They said that it was recruiting. They suspended our kids for 2 years. Our kids can't even compete at the individual state tournament, which to me is mind blowing. I understand it. If you want to say that it's not fair and you don't want our team to compete in the team states, fine, I get that. But to punish these individual kids who have worked so hard all their lives for this, I just thought that was wrong. We moved past it though, granted, because most of these kids in this club have bigger goals than a state title anyway. I mean, they have goals of making world teams, winning world titles, eventually, wrestling D1 in college, winning NCAAs, and then even going on to win, Olympic titles. So they do have bigger goals, but I still don't think it was right to, take that away from them for 2 years.
Right. I agree. I remember hearing about that and thinking like, how do they even make this decision? It's
so
silly.
odd. No other states are like that. I mean, it's Pennsylvania is like that, and I'm not sure why. And the thing that blows my mind is Bishop McCourt is a private Catholic school. Every kid that goes there pays to go there. So we're paying to go to that school, as is everyone else. So I'm not sure how you can say if nobody went there, the school wouldn't exist. So, I mean, everybody came from somewhere else.
Right.
And
right.
the other thing is there are so many other schools doing this. You have Notre Dame Green Pond, you have Faith Christian. They're doing the exact same thing that happened at Bishop McCourt, but we got flagged and nobody else did. So
right.
That's hard to stomach.
Yeah, especially as a mom. You're like, how hard these kids work.
Right. And to have that taken away. And I don't understand, like we tell our kids no matter what, put it on the line. You get to be the best by wrestling the best. So these other local schools and coaches and parents who just have this mentality that, well, they're too good, they shouldn't be allowed to wrestle. Like, what are you teaching your kid? I mean, you're okay with that? I wouldn't be.
No.
Yeah, that's a hard process of thinking for me to understand. Because we don't think that way.
Right. Yeah. And that was another reason that we chose Wisconsin, is because we've homeschooled our kids. So we know it's always been convenient, because wrestling's more of a club sport anyway until high school. Then you want to be part of a good team. So Wisconsin allows you to attend the high school and wrestle without having to send your kids. And then they also have open enroll too. So we can kind of pick and choose where we want the kids to go. So that was a big thing that we're like, because
I think that should be every parent's choice. You should get to choose where you send your kids, and nobody should be able to say anything about that.
And I even see it now as the boys are wrestling in the club. Like they have kind of created this group of kids that have this passion for wrestling, and you can see it that it will probably follow to high school, and and it's nice to have that choice to all go to the same high school.
Yes. And the really crazy thing is all of these kids that followed us to Bishop McCourt, they had all moved into Forest Hill School District. And nobody said a word. It was a public school. But as soon as we went to Bishop McCourt, it became a big issue. So
Well, that'll be good to put that behind you.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So did the boys ever do anything else extracurricular wise?
Yes, we're like big Pittsburgh Steelers fans, so we love football. So we try to always, and I don't know if you've ever been to a Penn State college football game. Those are crazy amazing. Like the atmosphere is like nothing I've ever seen before. So we always try to hit up. Our schedule's so busy, it's hard, but we try to hit up either a Steeler game or a Penn State football game, like every year. We have a camp up north, so there's no cell phone service there. It's amazing. So we'll go up there and we'll just hang out, sit by the campfire every night, talk till midnight, swim in the creek, hike up the mountain, just things like that. So they're big into that. And then they love working out. We own the compound, so they're constantly working out.
Did they ever try any other sports?
Yes. They both, they did gymnastics when they were younger, which we thought really helped with, like balance and flexibility and learning how to use your body, which, helped them a ton in wrestling. So they did that for a really long time, kind of till they got down like their back handsprings and their back tucks, and now they can do them. So they probably stopped that. Maybe it was like junior high. And then they both played football. They were both good at football. We're just not big people. So we don't really have the size for football. So they both played up to and including like the 7th grade year. And then Keegan said he's not going to play anymore after, he played this year and that was it. And Bo played up through junior high and then that was it.
Yeah.
So they always tell me that they like the games are fun, but that they feel like when they're at practice, they're wasting time when they could be getting better at wrestling. So I said, well, I can't argue with that.
Yeah. At what age did they start wrestling?
So Bo was older. He was 6. Bo, he has to like flip a switch. He's not a naturally aggressive or mean kid. So it was a little bit harder for him. He kind of flips that switch when he gets on the wrestling mat. Now, Keegan being the little brother, he wanted to go. He would cry. He was 4. And when Bill and Bo would leave for wrestling, he would cry his eyes out because he couldn't go. So we basically at that point had to just let him jump in. So he started at like 4. I can still remember we put him in a novice tournament because he was 4. And it was like, I don't even know if it was 6U or 8U. I think it was in Tyrone, which is a school like 20, 30 minutes from our house. And he wrestled, this kid was 6 or 7, and he tilted the kid. And he teched him, and the dad went absolutely crazy. Came across the mat of my husband and was like, why is he a novice? He's tilting kids. It's ridiculous. And my husband's like, buddy, he's 4 years old. What do you want us to do with him? So poor Keegan, that was like the last novice tournament he ever got to wrestle in. He was like straight into the fire. So, but yeah, Bo was older. Bo took longer. And Keegan he just jumped in right from 4.
What's interesting though, is that you say that is I think of the difference between my 2 boys too. Like they wrestle different, they think different, they learn different. What about your boys?
They're totally different. We like Bo's, he's like more like patient and like methodical, and he thinks things through, and he likes to plan, and he has to flip a switch to be aggressive, in the wrestling mat. He's not a naturally aggressive kid. And Keegan is straight fire.
Really?
It's just straight emotion. Yes, he's just explosive, naturally aggressive. We always say if we could combine the two, we'd have one amazing. Yeah, but they both have different aspects that they're really good at, but they're very different kids.
Right. That's so crazy because they're raised in the same environment. And my boys are just like that too. Like Christian's more of the kind of no, I wouldn't say shy, but non-confrontational. And then we always said that Gabriel had the anger issues. Like he's real quick to like snap for no reason, but Christian could always handle him and be like, know when he was going to do that. So and they're very similar like that with wrestling. So
always. Yes. Yeah. Like Bo, I mean, even when they were little and Keegan would flip out about something very small that was huge to him, Bo would be like, Mom, don't yell at him. Just let him go. Just wait till he calms down.
Right.
Yeah. So they learn how to handle each other.
Right. And how are they competitive wise? Like are they?
It's a constant everything's a competition in this house. Everything. Yeah. Every single little thing. Yes. Super competitive.
Right. So, and how are they?
We all are, even my husband and myself. And then you put Mel in the middle of them and it's just,
super competitive. Yep. I get it. How are they as far as supportive when they're wrestling?
Really, really good. Really good. Keegan will get mad sometimes because Bo will try to help him. And like we have to explain to Keegan, like you have this great resource in your brother and he loves you and he wants to help you. So he's not saying this stuff to be mean to you. He's trying to help you. And I think as Keegan's getting older and maturing, he is getting better at that. And Keegan, oh my Lord, when Bo's wrestling, he goes crazy. I said, he's going to get us. Like if the coaches are yelling, it bothers him. And I'm like, Keegan, you have to understand those coaches are coaching their kid like it's their job. He gets offended by it. He's yelling stuff back. He goes crazy when Bo wrestles. So
really? Yeah.
Supportive of each other.
Yeah. What I thought was kind of neat because you always wonder because they're both wrestling, the wins and the losses and who gets more attention rather than the other. You're always wondering like, are they kind of secretly a little more jealous of that? But I have not seen, I don't know if it's like more of a girl thing than a boy thing, but even when we're somewhere, Christian will say to me while we're watching Gabriel, like, oh Mom, I am so nervous. Like, I just really want him to do well. And I'm like, wow, okay. And it's just so interesting to see that. Like
And I,
he even told me, he's like, I'm more nervous when Gabriel wrestles than when I wrestle.
yes,
I was
and
like,
people tell me that too. And Keegan and I at World Team Trials, like I have never been so nervous in my entire life because they'll announce like your full name. So they would say Bowen William Bassett, and then he would walk out, and me and Keegan would be like holding hands and praying and shaking, and I'd be like, I'm gonna throw up, and he's like, me too. So we were just, he's so supportive, and I think he looks up to him so much. So I don't think that there's any jealousy there, and we're always too really careful to make sure they know that they're individuals. We don't ever compare them because they are different people. So you don't expect them to act alike or, be exactly the same or have the same journey because they're not going to. So
true. And how are you then when they're wrestling? Like, I always wonder if someone were to put a camera on me
yeah.
while I'm watching, I'm like, I would, because sometimes, I'm sitting, then I'm standing, then I'm like squeezing my daughter, and then I'm like yelling something that doesn't make sense.
I get nervous for like the bigger things now. Like Super 32 will make me nervous. The state finals will make me nervous. Definitely World Team Trials. We're going to be flying out on Wednesday. I'll be extremely nervous. And then Worlds, I think, was the worst. I honestly, a lot of times thought I was probably going to throw up. But I try to, on the outside at least, look just very calm and very confident. I believe in their training. I want them to believe in their training. And I think too, if I'm acting like I'm so worked up and so nervous, I don't want that energy to kind of bleed into them or them to pick up on that at all. So I try and stay like pretty quiet,
Sure.
not say anything and just not show my nerves. So
Right. Have you always been like that, or do you think you've just kind of evolved?
I think I got better at it. I think it gets easier as they get older, and you see too, like I know how hard they work. So I feel like hopefully they'll have success that they should, have success. And I mean, even if God forbid the worst thing that can happen is you lose and then you learn from it. And I think that a loss is not always a bad thing. It's a huge motivator. I see how it motivates my kids when they set a goal and maybe they don't reach it. They come back with a whole new sense of purpose and motivation. And I mean, that's like life too. You can do everything right. And sometimes it just doesn't go your way. And what you do after that really tells your true character. So
Right. So I know you talk about how they're training all the time. What does their typical, or even your typical schedule look like then?
So it's pretty crazy. Like 2 days a week, we have the 5 a.m. workouts, and those are at our house. We built our home 3 years ago, and when we built it, we decided to make it. We're like we're only going to build once, so let's make it exactly what we want. So we built a kind of like a mat room and a gym in our basement. There's a sauna down there. There's a cold tub. Up the steps, we have a hot tub. So it's like a little gym, and there's one like full size mat down there. So all of the McCourt boys, there's a bunch of them. I think they'll have anywhere from like 15 to 20 in the mornings coming at 5 a.m.
Wow.
So, I mean, everyone is bought in. Like these parents get out of bed, they're driving their kids to our house at 5 a.m. So at 5 a.m. around our block, there's cars parked, and these kids are trudging through the dark down the steps to our back door. So they'll have a 5 a.m. workout. It's just an hour. They do it till 6, and then they all, shower and get ready for school. Everyone goes home and goes to school. Bishop McCourt, I told you, they're like amazing. They're focused on, the whole kid. So as long as you have straight A's, Bo and Jax Forrest, his teammate, Jax was on the world team last year. He won silver in Italy. They allow them to leave half a day on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They leave at lunchtime, and they actually go up to Penn State to the RTC, and they train with like the college athletes up there.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, so that's another workout. We have Young Guns. That's 2 nights a week. We have our compound strength workouts. We have our Ranger Pride, like our own wrestling club workouts. The boys started another workout. It's called some type of like body mechanics or body functioning workout. It's a really neat thing. It teaches them to connect like their brain to their body, and I guess shows them movements and how to use their body. And the wrestlers all do that, and that seems to have been really helping them. So, and then we have a really good freestyle Greco coach, Coach Verona, and he does like Greco freestyle workouts with them too. So they usually have Bo and Jax would have more workouts a day because of the Penn State workout, but I mean anywhere from like 4 to 5 workouts a day. So,
Wow.
So they're going, yeah. And I mean, like
All
I
the
said,
time.
5 a.m.s are 2 days a week. I think our latest night goes to about 8:30.
Okay.
So it's not too awful, and we're lucky because everything is so close to us. Like a lot of people have to drive 2 hours for practice. I mean, we don't have to do that. We're driving 15 minutes at the most. So that makes it better too. Now Penn State, when they go up there, that's about an hour and 15.
Okay.
But that's still,
So
isn't
do
bad.
they,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. I was just gonna say, do they have particular wrestlers, each of them, that they kind of idolize or look up to or want to be like?
They so Spencer Lee was in a Young Guns wrestling club.
Yep.
So my boys have always grown up, watching Spencer Lee and looking up to Spencer Lee, and they got to be around him. So that was always, a pretty cool thing. And we were down at we were, at Hershey and watched him win the state titles. We were at NCAAs, and especially this year, like that was heartbreaking. But I mean, he's an amazing wrestler, so he's a great role model for them to look up to. And it was pretty cool. He was in Young Guns, which is the same club, they're coming up through. So
yes, it is cool. I always think it's cool I mean, if you're in the wrestling community, then these people are kind of like they're your superstars. Exactly. So I remember when we first came to Wisconsin and we stopped at a grocery store and we're like, yeah, our boys are trying out this wrestling club with Ben Askren. And they kind of looked at me like, who's that? And my husband's like, how do you not know who that is? It's like and it was just like this realization, like, wow, we are in our own little world here. Like this own little
community. It's their own community. That's what Bo got to go out to the Olympic Training Center and train, and he got to basically form a relationship with Jordan Burroughs, who, like, to me is like, it's like for NFL fans, it's like if Tom Brady walks in the room. I mean, it's crazy,
Right.
So he formed a relationship with him, and I actually got to meet him when we were down at NCAAs. We were invited to the Breakfast of Champions, and he was there, and I got to meet him, and he's just a phenomenal person. But it's like you're kind of like in awe. You're like this, wrestling mom fangirling because you're like, oh my God, it's Jordan Burroughs. But yeah, because to the wrestling community, that's huge. He's like our Tom Brady. So
right, and it's like for me, I mean, I watch the NCAAs, like that's our Super Bowl.
Yeah,
like because and like so these guys are like famous to us. So it's just crazy that some people don't even know who they are.
I know. Not in our world.
No, not at all. So what do you credit their drive, their motivation to? Like if you were like looking at you and your kids are just driven and they're motivated and they're doing so many workouts a day, like how did it get to that?
I think like Bo, I feel like he's sort of just wired different. He's always been like a certain kind of kid that's just a little more serious. He's even that way about his schoolwork. Like he can't be behind on anything. He can't have anything not done. It's just kind of how he is. He likes to plan, and he likes to have a schedule. Keegan's more like just easygoing. He's like, hey, whatever. You make the plan, I'll be there. But I feel like it has to be a whole family effort. Like if your kids decide that they're serious about wrestling and they want to set goals and have big dreams, everybody has to be all in, like including the mom. So, you have to support that. And I just think getting them to love it first. Like both my boys love wrestling. Like they want to go to wrestling. You know what I mean? And even if they're sick, they're like, I feel fine. Can I still go? And I think that's important too. Saying, yeah, sometimes you're not always going to feel 100%. And you have to push through. And we've done that like since they were little. And I think they're just used to it. This is just what we do. They don't know any other way.
Right. So then do you help them set goals? Is it kind of like a family event?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're all in on it together. I mean, it's what we do. A long time ago, we watched, I think it was a Flow episode, and I think it was Kyle Dake, and he talked about writing his goals. My kids were really little at the time, and they picked up on that about how he would write his goals. Like if he wanted to be an NCAA champ, he would write it 6 times. And then when he became an NCAA champ, he would write, I'm going to be a 2-time NCAA champ. And they started doing this. They've done it since they're 6. Like I have notebooks full of them. But every morning when they're sitting at the breakfast table, they literally write their goals down. And like they'll write them. So Bo, I think, is a 9-time state champ now. So he would write it like 9 times, and he would be a 9-time state champ. Now he wants to be a 2-time world champ. So Keegan has, they just all have their goals every morning that they write down. I think that helps keep them focused too. But it definitely has to be like if this is what your kids want to do, I think the only way it can work is a whole family effort. And I think, if mom's not on board, that makes it really hard. So, when my husband is sometimes hard on them and they need it, I have to back that up. Hey, your dad's right. He's just trying to help you. You have to back up what the coaches say at practice. And yeah, I think you have to set that example too. Like, I mean, how many times do you feel 100% like you want to go to work? Not very often, but you go anyway. So I just think set that example, and we all try to work out and we all try to eat healthy, and it's just kind of the way we've always done it. So they don't know any other way.
Yeah, right. That's great. So tell me, what is your opinion on what happened with Spencer Lee's mom? Because I know that's a big thing right now with moms in the community.
Yes. Well, I think first of all, what a moment for Ramos. And
agree.
I mean, that was insane for him. I don't want to take anything away from him, but I feel like shame on ESPN for focusing on Spencer Lee's mom when they should have been focusing on Ramos and his family and their happiness. I mean, to me, like, to her, that was such a vulnerable moment. Like, that was just pure emotion. And I mean, I completely understand that. I completely understand that. From the time that boy was 6 years old, or however old he was when he started, it has been an entire family effort. And I mean, the amount of sacrifice, money, time that you put into that, and how much your child wants to reach his goals, and that he set that goal. And I think to see your kid fall short of that is heartbreaking. And that was her pure emotion. And I don't fault her one bit for that. The only person I fault is ESPN they should have been focused on Ramos and his family. What a moment for them, and to take away from them and then show her in a vulnerable moment like that. I mean, she was feeling the pain of her child. Who could fault her for that? Any wrestling mom would 100%, I feel like, back that up. And people that would say anything negative about her in that moment, then they don't get it. They just don't get it.
And it makes me think too, like I said before, if a video camera was on me sometimes, they could make some memes.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Like my facial expressions or sometimes the stuff I say.
It's a very emotional sport.
It is.
It's a roller coaster of highs and lows.
It is. Okay. So you have the World's coming up, and that's super exciting.
Yes.
So we're really excited to watch that. And what's his weight?
He is wrestling. It's I always get confused. It's 51 kilograms. It's like 121 pounds, or is it 55 kilograms? I think it's 55. But it's 121 pounds. I hate kilograms. So it's like 121.9 or something maybe. But,
cool. Does Bo know where he wants to wrestle in college?
He doesn't. I think he has probably like his top couple. Like I know there's 3 that I really like, but like he said, I mean, we're gonna have to take visits, see which coaches he feels like he meshes with, see where he can see himself living for like 5 years, because he wants to go on after college and wrestle in the Olympics too. And I guess just see like where he thinks he'll fit in, because we have such a community, like a wrestling family here, that wherever he goes, he's going to have to find that there as well. So that's going to be a big decision. But he definitely, because people are like, oh, we know he's going here, we know he's going there. No, his mind is not anywhere near made up. He definitely has his top favorite. I'd say probably a top 3 or 4, but not decided at all.
So for you guys too, just kind of the last question, how does faith play a role in your life?
Well, yeah, Bishop McCord is a Catholic school. Right. We absolutely love that. They have mass, all the time. But we say our prayers. I say them every morning on my way to work. My kids say them every morning on their way to school. We say them every night before bed. We just talk about how God has blessed us and how fortunate we are. So, I mean, we talk about all the time how, it's a privilege to wrestle, that you're healthy, to wrestle. And yeah, I mean, it plays a big role for us, for sure.
And I think the one thing I love about wrestling is there are so many positive role models for my kids, including your sons, like just positive ones. Like, and most of them, after they win, they're glorifying God. And it just kind of like, it just melts my heart, because it's like, that's who I would like my kids to idolize and want to be like, not the fact that, oh, look what I did. No, look what God's given me and what I've been able to do with it. And I feel like just a majority of the wrestlers have that faith, and it's probably because of the struggles they've had to go through.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
It's not an easy sport.
Wow. And I mean, you hear Kyle Snyder do videos, and he's always, They do. They have such positive role models. And I think that's huge, thanking God and remembering that, you didn't get here on your own. He blessed you with a lot to be able to reach these goals. And that's important to remember. So
yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Karissa. It's been awesome.
yeah,
And
thank you.
good luck. Yes.
Thank you.
We'll
Yeah,
be praying for you and watching
thank you.
and yeah. And
Take all the credit we can get. We're nervous and excited.
oh,
And
sure.
we're ready. We've been training hard. So this
Yeah.
weekend's a big training weekend, and then kind of relaxing a little more Monday and Tuesday to fly out on Wednesday. So
yeah. Enjoy it because it always goes by so fast.
yes, I'm gonna try to soak it up and
Yeah.
just enjoy the moment. So
Yeah. Well, thank you.
hey, thanks.